local reaction. And in sports, an update on the state high school hockey championships. All this and more coming up next on NewsCenter 11.
Levitt's sensational loading dock sale. Outstanding savings right here in our loading dock area and throughout our entire showroom. Now during Levitt's big loading dock sale.
One of the most tiresome, back-breaking household chores is mopping and waxing floors. And the constant bending, stooping, and straining to wring out your mop. Well, here is the greatest work saver to come along in years. The fabulous Rollomatic Mop and Waxer with this built-in remote control wringer. And a sponge rubber head that always stays soft and absorbent. Watch how it quickly soaks up water. And for wringing, just flip the lever. The rollers do all the work. No more bending or stooping, and your hands never touch the water. And the Rollomatic mop won't drip, so it's perfect for washing walls, ceilings, and windows. The absorbent sponge rubber head easily picks up the messiest spills, spreads liquid wax evenly and thinly without streaking. So get the Rollomatic today. It's the easiest, most convenient mop and waxer you've ever used. If you don't agree, simply return it to manufacturer for full refund.
The Rollomatic Mop and Waxer, an ideal gift. Available at Target. This is the 6 p.m. edition of NewsCenter 11 for Friday, March 16th, 1979, with anchorman Jim Dyer, Glenn Burns with the weather, Bob Kurtz on sports, and the NewsCenter 11 reporting team.
Good evening. Despite support from the governor, the House Tax Committee today took a giant step towards stopping the downtown Dome Stadium. Our government reporter Jim Gately has the details.
For weeks, the committee had heard testimony on the 2% stadium liquor tax. That charge is used as backup funding for the project, and no liquor tax means no stadium. That's the way the committee voted.
There are 15 in favor and 12 opposed. Motion carries.
Stadium opponents were pleased.
Meeting's adjourned.
But somehow, spokesmen from different viewpoints both approved of the vote.
Based upon today's action and assuming that the bill becomes law, I would say that the Sports Facility Commission can go nowhere other than Bloomington and back to the Met.
These votes were both anti-Bloomington and anti-Minneapolis. They were negative votes, and then what they were trying to say, I think, is let the whole floor decide.
In about a week, the full House will take up the stadium question, and the vote is expected to be close. Meanwhile, the governor is hoping to get some stadium plan moving.
It doesn't make any difference to me where that facility is. I just want to make certain that we can move ahead.
He believes during the next week there should be some compromises and a lot of lobbying. No matter how you look at today's committee vote, the stadium issue is far from dead. In fact, some legislators say the real fight for the new stadium is just beginning. Reporting from the state capitol, Jim Gately, NewsCenter 11.
The president of Minnesota's largest teachers union has warned legislators teachers will no longer stand still for crowded classrooms. Speaking to a record crowd, Donald Hill, spokesman for the Minnesota Education Association, told teachers that in this year's bargaining session, they should remember their commitment to students.
It's all right to have 30 in a class. It doesn't make any difference. Don't you understand? That's the way it works. Now just go back in there and do the very best you can under all these conditions, no matter what.
Contract negotiations for teachers all over the state will begin sometime this spring. MEA, which represents most of those teachers, is expected to emphasize keeping class size down to a 15-to-1 pupil-to-teacher ratio, particularly in kindergarten through 3rd grade. That's a commitment supported by Governor Al Quie, who's introduced a bill to limit class size in earlier grades. Today, Quie told teachers he expects their support.
To do anything about the future, you're more important to the state of Minnesota than about anyone else. The reason why I say that about anyone else, I'll never take it away from the parents as being the most important. But next to the parents, you're the most.
The metro area saw its second bank robbery in as many days today, and the FBI says it has few leads in either case. Jane Mitchell has more.
FBI men converged on the Roseville State Bank today, minutes after the metro area's 24th bank robbery of the year was committed inside these doors by a man described as
white male, about 22, 25 years of age, 5'8" in height, 140 to 150 pounds, medium build, dark brown eyes.
The suspect in yesterday's Northwestern National Bank heist was also a white male with dark hair. But the FBI says there's no reason to believe the robberies are connected. Unlike yesterday's robber, today said he had a gun and demanded his note back. According to unconfirmed reports, these may be the robber's footprints, and he may have headed off in that direction. These and other remnants of the crime are all the FBI has to work with right now. In this, the latest in the metro area bank robbery epidemic. Jane Mitchell, NewsCenter 11.
St. Paul narcotics agents have completed their sweep of arrests in their crackdown on the sale of marijuana and LSD at Harding and Johnson high schools. More than 30 persons, many of them students between 14 and 16 years of age, have been arrested after allegedly selling drugs to a 19-year-old undercover agent who had infiltrated student ranks at both schools. Lieutenant Russ Bovey, who heads the narcotics division, says buying drugs at local high schools is like going to a store shopping. But he adds the drug problem at Harding and Johnson is no worse than at any other high school in the area. The arrests culminate a 2-month investigation. Joe Casella is at police headquarters at this hour, where the last of those arrested are being booked, and he'll have a complete report tonight at 10. Brainerd policeman Randall Bush has been suspended without pay. Bush is charged with misconduct and assault for allegedly mistreating prisoners. The trial has been set for the 24th of April at Baudette or Duluth. The 41-year-old Minneapolis woman who allegedly threw her 3-year-old daughter into the Mississippi River near the Marshall Avenue Bridge has been charged with attempted murder and assault. Police say Leona Kavanaugh planned to drown her child and then commit suicide, but had a change of heart. Mrs. Kavanaugh is being held in the psychiatric unit at St. Paul's Ramsey Hospital. Minneapolis police have arrested 25-year-old Leonard Hill of St. Paul. Hill was reportedly found hiding in a women's lavatory in Comstock Hall at the University of Minnesota and was caught a short time later. Leonard Hill is one of the 2 St. Paul brothers whose 1975 rape convictions caused a public outcry. Leonard was paroled from Stillwater Prison last October after serving 3.5 years. His brother Stanley's prison term was commuted after almost 2.5 years. In Minneapolis federal court today, there was more damaging testimony against the alleged ringleader of a 5-state prostitution ring. Bertie Grace has been covering that trial and is with us tonight with an update.
The star witness today was a 19-year-old Lynn Fayen, who confessed to being a prostitute and drug addict before claiming she was recruited by Chico Artez. Artez and 4 others are accused of, among other things, recruiting teenage girls to work as hookers. Fayen described Artez as persuasive and told how Artez bought her a new wardrobe and was given several free trips, adding Artez filmed her and some of the other recruits in the nude. Just as Fayen was ready to tell more about her relationship with Artez, the trial was recessed for the weekend. The woman seen leaving court with Artez is a Marquita Hayes, who is also on trial. She was allegedly one of Artez's main hookers and is accused of crossing state lines to commit prostitution and also taking new recruits across state lines. By the way, this isn't the first time Artez has been in trouble. He spent most of his adult life behind bars. Artez had a similar run-in with the law in 1972 when he was convicted of running a sauna prostitution ring. While in jail, he was described as a model prisoner, deeply involved in religion. In fact, he married an ex-nun while behind bars. Soon after that, before serving even half his sentence, though, he was paroled. Some prison sources say he used religion to con his way out of jail. Whatever, if convicted, he'll again face a prison sentence, but this time he could be sentenced up to 110 years in prison. The trial resumes on Monday. Jim?
Thank you, Bernie. Well, the China Syndrome, if you're still wondering what that means, our film critic Nancy Nelson will be back to talk about the new Columbia Pictures release when NewsCenter 11 continues. There's a new motion picture out just today that's already causing a great deal of controversy in the scientific community. The picture, The China Syndrome, depicts a near-disaster nuclear power plant in California. Nuclear power producers across the country are worried that the picture will cause the public to react in a negative manner toward nuclear energy. Well, just last week, General Electric canceled the sponsorship of the Barbara Walters special on ABC. This because Ms. Walters interviewed Jane Fonda, star of The China Syndrome, on her television program. To look into the controversy, we have Nancy Nelson in the studio with us tonight for a review of that new picture.
Jim, I saw that movie just the other day, and if you've always felt that movies are nothing but light weekend pacifiers, I'd like to sit with you through a viewing of The China Syndrome. It's a passionate picture, certainly not an objective report, but its point of view is expressed in straightforward, powerful terms, simply and with great impact. It's about power, nuclear power primarily, but also political power, industrial power, media power. While doing a simple story on a nuclear power plant, Jane Fonda is present when an accident, a human error, nearly wipes out Southern California. Jack Lemon, the shift supervisor at the power plant, pursues the reasons for the accident and soon finds himself aligned with the passionate outcries of Miss Fonda and her cameraman, played by Michael Douglas, as they attempt to persuade the management of their own television station to tell the true story of nuclear danger. Many will be persuaded to leave the theater and head directly for the picket line. And for this reason, the various nuclear industries have combined their efforts to provide media critics with a list of counterfacts. A truth squad, if you will, in an attempt to diffuse what they obviously feel will be the strong influences of the film. China Syndrome is a superb, powerful movie, and there seems little question that the controversy has only just begun. Jim?
Nancy, here in Minnesota, the opening of the China Syndrome prompted Northern States Power to issue a 5-page release, which in essence outlined the safety of nuclear power plants. NewsCenter 11's Janet Mason talked with NSP officials.
Was about a near accident at a nuclear plant where the dropping water level in a reactor almost exposed the core. The movie claims if this had happened, there would have been a core meltdown and the radioactive material would have reached the water table and caused a huge explosion. Northern States Power spokesman Steve London says that's very unlikely because of all the backup safety features.
If all of the safety systems, including the 3 or 4 backup systems, do not work properly in the event of an accident, there could be a potential serious accident. However, to take a look at the safety record of the nuclear power industry, there has not been any serious accident.
NSP has interest in how the public reacts to the movie since it owns 2 nuclear plants in the state, one at Monticello and this one Prairie Island near Red Wing. The Monticello plant manager, Leon Eliasson, says the core could not be exposed because the backup safety features would automatically correct the problem. The movie adds another wrench by showing the viewer that the welds in the reactor were weak because the man in charge of x-raying the welds falsified the x-ray reports. Eliasson says that could not happen either because the power company and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission also double-checked the welds.
Nuclear industry officials stress that China Syndrome is fictional. It's a story about a nuclear accident that did not and could not happen. Janet Mason, NewsCenter 11 at the Prairie Island nuclear plant.
As the birth rate has declined, so has the need for newborn